And turn on the phone recording. So welcome everybody to the first of two Healing the Heart series of Embodied Presence. So I've already created a group field, and I want you to just sense into this sacred space. We've created this field that is permanently attached to this recording and is created to service anyone who has signed up for this session, anyone who has intended to just be with this sacred space. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And we're also welcoming your guides. What's been happening the past few months, and yes, they're here, is we're all getting a divine guide of avataric type of expression. So they're just 1, 2, 3, entering your field right now. There we go. They come in through the crown, down into the heart, in the spine, and they're just this warm, loving presence. And they're adding their support, they're amplifying the work that's being done, welcoming Mother Mira, who's holding space for this work to be done in the group field. And thanking them for their presence here today and helping us to build more presence in our life. And also starting with a sacred mantra. These sacred mantras create a sound expression for us to join together. And what I've been doing the last couple of days is singing a Sanskrit chant, which literally translates into a devotion to the creative wisdom within us all and the creative wisdom within the divine. And if you know it, feel free to sing along with. It's a Kundalini chant that's used a lot in Kundalini yoga. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Gurudev Namo. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the creative wisdom. Welcome to the divine within and without. Dropping down into your root chakra, inviting you to breathe down into the earth. And as earth, just breathing back up into you. You can just do gentle breaths as we recalibrate your system to this flow of groundedness that is bringing your divinity into the earth, merging with the very molecules of the planet, the minerals, the physicality, as well as the energetics, and having the energetics merge more with you into this flow of centeredness. So breathing down through the ground, the chair, the floor, the building, all the way into the layers of the earth, down to the center where Gaia is inviting us to merge with her and do so as like an umbilical cord plugging into Mother. And as she's welcoming us, Gaia is a dimensional being. She's gifting us with her presence in a form of embodiment that will help with this template of flow to create a stronger template for you to meet life with in a more centered, grounded, divine way. So as earth, we're breathing up this liquid nourishment, this liquid invitation, stopping at the subroot first chakra, which is about a foot beneath our feet. And what it tends to do is clear away any debris from the last couple of sessions and healings we've done together, or any work you've done personally, or even just the changes you're experiencing. And what it's meeting right now is just some flatness, some deadness, some disconnect in the subroot first chakra. Subroot first chakra is an extension of the root chakra. And so it's indicative of how much connected we are to the planet, and we tend to run into a lot of survival fear here, and that's exactly what we addressed the last time we worked together, last couple of times. There we go. And breathing up into the root chakra. Yep, and we're still meeting that blockedness, some density that is associated with, yeah, I just don't want to flow with grounded. I don't want to be present. I don't want to be in my body. I don't even want to be here in whatever it is that's there. And so I don't know what that is. I don't know. We're addressing this session. It applies to kind of what we touched on Saturday and on Thursday. But for those who weren't in those sessions, it's just bumping into some survival fear that seems really dense and really, really heavy. That just has kind of a message of go away. Like, yeah, we're not opening that box. But here, with help from our guides, we're just easing into this recalibration and breathing it up into the sacral chakra. There's a little bit more openness in the sacral chakra, and it's showing us some fear. It's not as dense, it's not as disconnected and heavy. And the tendency to disconnect from fear would be kind of a knee-jerk response. A knee-jerk response to the body's way of coping. And so breathing it up into the third chakra, the solar plexus. If there's more of that disconnect, more of that not wanting to be present with whatever it is. That we've bumped into. There we go. And when we were working Thursday, this is kind of what it seemed like. It was something that was instantly resistant. I think that's the way I described it on Thursday. And so it makes sense we're running into it today, because when we are requesting from intentions to heal the heart and to have a more open heart, of course, it's going to look at what isn't open, what isn't healed, what is out of sorts. And so resistance is why the heart isn't opening, right? The resistance is why you don't maybe fully love yourself enough, or love other people, or see the world as a safe, loving place. Now breathing it up into the heart chakra. Yep, and there's just a, again, we're bumping into this resistance, this heart resistance that says, no, it's either not safe, or I feel quite vulnerable. And the block seems to be more or less, it's obviously affecting the throat, more or less in the back of the heart. So to me, that's indicative of past lives or genetic history. And we're just going to sit with it for just a second, because again, we want to recalibrate. There we go. And there's a gentle relaxing there. Gentle relaxing. Because creating this flow is a crucial part to establishing the rest of the session. There we go. Now breathing up into the throat chakra. Yep. And the throat has fear. Fear. Like if I speak, if I talk. This is kind of a first. It feels like it's part 3 of Thursday's session. It feels like it's the same issue, this same unspeakable fear. But fear is such a broad topic. And our karmic history based in fear, our genetic history based in fear is so huge that we could probably spend a whole entire year peeling away one fear after another. In fact, coming up next year in 2023, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to be focusing on trauma for at least 1 to 2 to 3 months or more, because trauma to me is baseline, it's systemic in our culture, and it's the most unaddressed thing on a dimensional scale because it's hard work, because we're looking at things. But to me, the people who have been doing this work off and on, or who have been intently working on their inner work, it's actually right where you're at. It is the pointer to freedom. There we go. Yeah, I think the throat is the most blocked here. Ooh. And now coming up into the brow chakra. Yep, it's definitely fear. A survival fear issue. It seems like it's part 3 from what we worked on Thursday, what we touched on Saturday. Here we go. And now up through the crown. And we talked about also how the crown for a lot of people isn't fully open, because the crown allows the light in, and some of the coping mechanisms and defense mechanisms from our survival fears and our deep traumas and our woundedness that have been unprocessed and unresolved don't want to be seen. And so part of the defense mechanism that you're probably not aware of, that is just really innately there as a survival instinct, is shut down. And so we're going to take a little moment and open up the crown chakra to the extent that you're ready, able, and willing. Nothing is done here without you or your guides, divine wisdom. And so now, allowing it to flow up and around, to cascade in this toroidal field, to work on how the chakras are transformed, to work together. There we go. Repair any damaged pathways. Recalibrate the energetic bodies to come into alignment. Any of the nadis that feed into the chakras, your energetic spine. And the flow of the nervous system. There we go. Whew. This was a doozy of a recalibration. putting in structures to help that flow stabilize. There you go. Now dropping into regulation. Regulation asks, what is out of regulation? What is out of balance? What is out of sorts in preparation for this particular session that your system needs to address? Whatever is impacting the heart's ability to be much more present with life, to allow in this divine presence that is your natural birthright. And regulation is going to that hardness. We've touched upon hardness of the heart many, many, many times before through different aspects. So everything is layered, and we learn that especially in the mother and father wound and the mother and father conditioning, how layered it is. The modality I study is so fascinating in pointing out the different layers and even how those layers are layered and how they're interconnected together and interfaced and excuse me, and have cellular aspects as well as interdimensional and all. I could talk for hours, but our dimensionality energetically is so complex. And so when we address a certain aspect like this hardening in the heart, there is another aspect of that hardening of the heart that is, it looks like it's attached to this survival fear. This part of you that your ancestors didn't want to deal with, that your karmic history couldn't, more than likely, have the capacity to deal with, and has somehow shut down a part of your heart. This hardness of heart has to do with some sort of unresolved fear. It looks like it was some sort of struggle to survive. And so in regulation, it's inviting you to drop beneath the surface of this healing pool. The surface is indicative of the storms of life, the rockiness, the waves that can toss you about, and just drop down into the void. And this void-like space is enveloping you. It's infusing you. It's flowing in, around, and through you to help illuminate, point out, and address what isn't regulated, what is out of sorts, what isn't balanced. And in this particular session, it's going right to the heart, the hardness of the heart, the hardships of life that have to do with some unresolved fear. And in relationship to the last two sessions, it's some sort of violent wounding in society, in nature. And that violent wounding could be any number of things. Whatever it was, part of the heart shut down. Every one of you has this in some capacity. So your guide that's working with you is making sure this particular hard piece of the heart is going to get softened in a way that feels safe, protected, honored, seen. But first, we're going to regulate whatever the body needs. Whew. Where there's just a gentleness coming in, very gentleness. It's like a preliminary to embrace is what you're working on next. But this gentleness is just an understanding within the body that hardship has occurred in this life, in many other lives, in your ancestors' lives, in our current culture. So the question to ask yourself is, how is this hardness of life manifested for you. And more or less, it's your triggers. You can ask yourself, what triggers you? We can instantly look back the last couple of years. Some people have said this last year is the hardest they've ever had. It's almost like the 2 years in lockdown needed another year just to process what we all went through together, with the pandemic, with COVID, with the disinformation, with the politics, with the separation and division, and how that's impacted the body, how not just the virus, but everything around it. And so this hardness is asking you, how is it presenting right now? Is there hardships that you're facing? Is there body issues? Is there emotional blocks? Is there choices that you do or don't want to make? Because what we just did earlier, this flow of life, bumped up against resistance, against resistance, against resistance. Flow of life meets everything just as it is, whether it's hard, whether it's easy, whether it's tragic, whether it's blissful, whether it's earth-shattering, gut-shattering, or the most amazing love story ever. It just meets it all with presence, with equanimity, with balance, with an acceptance that just said, hello, life, I'm ready for you. But the reason we can't is our conditioning, our fear that says, what if? And we've all faced it. Story upon story. The biggest story, I can recall was in 2016 when I was asked to sell everything and move to Colorado. And I was trying to plan this trip, and every time I planned it, from trying to get a house ahead of time, to selling all my things, to packing, to even getting a new vehicle, every time I planned it, it just would fall apart. But if I sat back and allowed Source to lead me, things just appeared naturally. And it was literally training me to just let go and surrender. And I think to every capacity, you've all experienced that. And where you haven't is what Source is asking you right now. What looks to be hard in your life? And is it really true? Are you getting in your own way? Is there some way you can just lean back and not idealistically allow Source to guide you, but be a part of Source as your own guidance? There's a difference, and it's a state of consciousness. It's a state of relaxation, and that's exactly what came in Saturday. It's just this relaxed state of meeting life. So the question of what is hard in your life, how is it presenting, is a valid one. Beautiful. And sometimes Source has me talking like this just as a distraction. While the energy works for you, and it appears like it's working right behind your heart center, right behind your left shoulder blade, right behind your physical heart. Now dropping into embrace. Embrace is just a lovely set of energies that does exactly what it sounds like. It's just holding you in this most loving hug, addressing it with peace and equanimity in a way that is completely compassionate, understanding, accepting, allowing, that no matter what you tell this loving ear, this loving presence, it'll all be okay. Like we're all children stumbling through life, and we are. And there's this beautiful life force just allowing us just to be, guiding us through. And so embrace is both illuminating this place of hardness, hardship, in your heart, while simultaneously allowing it to be, surrounding it with nurturing, with protection, with safety, with whatever it needs to just relax, open up, receive, and allow the energy to do the work. That's really your only guidance here. There's no need to do mantras. There's no need as things come up to address it. Here, it's teaching you to let go and let, I hate this terminology, but I'm going to use it, let go and let God, or let go and let Source. Because in that letting go is a type of surrender that recognizes itself, that is becoming aware and awake to itself. There's so much fantasy out there that wants to pull you in story, even a big giant story of how divinity is coming from certain star planets, and this ascension is happening, and this pattern is doing this and that in the world. I've even questioned the modality that I study and the story surrounding it. But here's the reality. Truth, absolute truth, is the only thing that doesn't change. It doesn't need a story. And absolute truth is, at its core, is this presence that is timeless, it's formless, it's effortless, it's filled with so much grace. And that's the kind of flow we're helping to establish on embodied presence, because we can call that flow presence. And we're calling it flow because it's kind of a way to meet life, to live life, to embody life. And in order to have that kind of flow, Source needs to point at what isn't in flow, what isn't present, what isn't this presence. And right now it's pointing at your heart, a piece of hardness in your heart, affiliated with some fear. Do we need to know what that fear is? Well, if you do, journal about it, write about it. Or maybe it's presenting just as a symptom of avoidance, of resistance, of things that just feel hard. Oh. And I was having this conversation with someone earlier too, who was going through the ringer with a certain situation. And they're projecting out, waiting for a miracle to happen. And I said, what if the miracle is this situation? What if the miracle is the situation, is asking you to find the grace in this challenge? And it's certainly been my personal experience. Every single challenge I've ever had is the reason we're doing this work. I can't look back at any of it and regret or even deny that it is, it isn't part and parcel of why this work is coming forward. And it's taught me again to surrender. You've heard me say a million times, this isn't me doing the work, it's me surrendered in the work as a bridge. And me outside of this is trying to do that in my everyday life. And I'm just as challenged as each one of you. When I sit down and do that, oh, where's life hard? Oh, that's going to be a long list. But also, I've learned that when I look at things as hard, it's an invitation to soften it. Like the recent blip we've had with the recordings. That wasn't hardship for me. That was just like, oh, I've learned. Oh, we don't have them because we were meant to repeat it. And I needed to change out of that old app. It's just the flow of life. And it created a temporary hardship which we're working through. And so that's just one example that you can ask yourself, where is life hard? There's not an answer. It's not asking you to, and that's kind of the problem with human nature too, is it wants to resolve that answer, that desire to resolve that answer. Therein lies the suffering. Like Buddhism calls them samskaras, I think. And if I'm totally misusing that word, please, don't hesitate to correct me, because I don't claim to be any kind of scholar in Buddhism or any other philosophies, really. which is kind of an open book to whatever's pouring through. I have basic knowledge. But the idea that our suffering is applied to attachment is a Buddhist idea, and that our life's hardship is what we're working through to be free. And that's not just a Buddhist philosophy, that's a non-dual philosophy. It's a philosophy of vortex healing. It's a philosophy of a lot of other cultures that present life as something that is holistic, coming back into holism. Whew. Again, as I'm talking, it's a form of distraction as Source is working behind the scenes to help your system relax. There's a piece of hardship that is truly like an arrow piercing the heart. Piece of hardness. And they're not giving me a source. They're not telling me a story. It could be, again, any number of stories. It could be 50,000 stories. I mean, if we all had to sit down with a glass of tea or beer or wine or whatever and talk about the hardships of life, it would be endless, right? It's a human story. It's a human core belief. We must struggle. So embrace gently, ever so gently, relaxing that need to struggle. There we go. And I wish I had the recordings because Source clearly told me that in telling my stories to y'all, it was a way of distracting, like when a photographer takes pictures of kids and they hold up this little, squeaky toy, or pets even, squeaky toy, and look at this, just to distract them so that they can take the picture. Source is like, keep talking, Betty, because we're over here taking the picture. They're working really deep in this area of hardness in the heart that we first came into this session showed itself as a deep resistance to access, to be in flow, to meet. And that's what hardness is, right? It's a struggle, and we seek to be free of it. That's why there's a bazillion million self-help courses and a bazillion million workshops and courses to make life easier. Well, what if you approached life that it isn't harder, it isn't easy, it just is? But that's a form of relaxation that the mind struggles with, because again, the core belief is life must struggle. We must struggle. There must always be a problem to resolve. And if there isn't a problem to resolve, what's the point? Well, that's a mental aspect of a conditioned response to this deeper wound that says life is hard. Want to know why? All this conditioning will point out the hardships in your genetic history and your karmic history in life right now. People point to gas prices and the potential railroad strike and all these things that could create hardships. There we go. Now we're gently coming in to energize, and it's just going to address where this particular energetic signature has created any kind of weakness, and clear, harmonize, energize, strengthen, build up the energies. It's going to the physical heart muscle, it's going to the emotional body, mental body, it's going to the pathways, some of the chakras. Whew. Interesting. It's going to the psychological body, that part of you that is just so programmed, again, into life is just hard. Because for those who work on being present, life just is. I sent you a quote from a social media friend that I've just come to know, as one does when you have social media acquaintances. And it's been such a joy following his journey. He travels around the world, and I think I first bumped into him when he was in Europe, up in the Alps, and I would just occasionally catch his posts. But just recently, he's been traveling from the West Coast to the East Coast, and he's just finishing up his journey, and it's just been such a joy at how in tune he is with his body. What I love about Amachi, my guru, is that she hugs people. And when she hugs people, she's deep into their energetics. And it's proven she literally warps time because she'll stay up all night hugging people, and there's someone there counting the people she hugs. And she spent anywhere from a couple of seconds to longer with people. And they've literally counted the number of people, and they've looked at the time frame, and it's not possible for her to have actually hugged as many people as she has in that time frame. So it's amazing how you can work with time, because time is a man-made concept. And this person, his name is Bernie, walking across the country, is such in flow with the infiniteness of life that he's able to affect his own body temperature in a way, and also affect his pacing. He gets up at the break of dawn. Sometimes he walks into the night, and he just meets every single aspect. He was in the desert. If you all remember how hot it was, he was in the desert this past summer, walking through state parks in the desert, in the heat, in the 110 heat, and he was carrying everything on his back. I still don't know how he did it. And then he was up in the Rocky Mountains with that kind of altitude and that kind of challenge. And now he's facing this cold. He's in Washington, D.C. right now. And he's just cruising along, just welcoming life. And what he calls trail angels, people just appear in his path. He's manifesting. Just in tune with life, loving it, dropping little love bombs wherever he goes with his perspective. And that to me, and not everyone needs to drop what you're doing and be a hiker. No, the invitation is, how do you flow with your own life and find that kind of peace um, infiniteness and connection with the flow of your own life? Well, it's to learn how to meet life as it is, and the only way you can do that is to meet what isn't in that flow and address it. And today we're looking at that piece of hardship that is right in your heart center, behind your physical heart, right behind your left shoulder blade. And just this life is too hard. And the energetics are clearing, harmonizing, raising the energy, building up. Energizing where it's weakened, where it's depleted, where this hardness has affected you in ways that are detrimental to that flow, to that natural flow of beingness, the infinite place that is connected to all of life. that place of hardness. Everyone has it. There's a deeper root of trauma. We may have addressed it earlier. You may have addressed it in your own approaches to your own work. This may be a leftover habit. Just maybe a layer that you couldn't reach, that was unreachable. We learned with the mother and father conditioning that there were certain aspects of things that were just simply unreachable because they were so intertwined with mother and father conditioning. There we go. And now putting in all kinds of structures. GPS structures help to seek out and find different aspects of this signature frequency or dissonance. And bringing in truth structures to help drop your awareness into that place that just feels life is too hard. And you probably have so incorporated this into your life that it just feels like that's what it is. Like you can't do anything about it. But the thing is, you can. That's what your awareness is for. But most people don't stop, especially when it's hard. What our go-to is, oh, let's just complain. Oh, let's just wish it better. Let's just, skip right over it or vent about it or, any number of ways we have to cope. Why do you think there's so many addictions? Addictions are just a symptom of avoidance. Smartphones we're addicted to, too much entertainment, busyness. There's so many addictions out there. Food. All are distracting us from being present or from addressing the hardships, the hardness. But it's only in addressing the hardness, the hardships, that we actually gain the presence, because we need the practice to show us that these hardships aren't real. And as we work through it in whatever way, whether it's these sessions, whether you're doing yoga, or whether you're like Bernie, just walking across the country. He started out as a naturalist. He's just been in nature, and he allows nature to show him. Eckhart Tolle says, if you just learn to breathe right, we're all breathing shallow. There's just many different ways. And there's all sorts of ways that you can combine together. This just happens to work on the collective in a very specific way, which we're very blessed to join together to do. There we go. So truth structures are dropping your awareness more deeply into how this hardness or hardship or hard part of your heart applies to your life. And now we're going to go right to reorientation. And reorientation is asking, what would it be like if this hardness, this hardship, is completely gone? You've transformed it. You've worked through every single issue and you're free of it. And you've gained all the wisdom. There is a possibility that exists, and we're going to rift your way to that. We're going to bring up that possibility as an overlay. And it just feels like lightness, like a light turning on in the dark. Because hardness you can equate to heaviness, to density, to darkness. Like there's a dark spot in your heart, or a hard place, or some place that just not going to let light in. And so I sense that this is a place of just lightening up. Or another way to look at it is that heart is opening up to light in a new way. So I'm going to bring in new upper dimensional blueprints for this. Or you can see it as whatever that burden is that you list. Go back to that list of what seems hard in your life. And I really suggest that you do this homework, because your awareness is your superpower. You can't change what you're not aware of. And you are the awareness. You just aren't aware of it. Ponder that for a little bit. And so being free of this awareness, of this hardness, is like your burdens are lifting. The mental burden, the emotional burden, maybe even the physical burden. Awaken any identities that are still attached to that. Oh my God, life is so hard. Ugh. That's how you identify. That's why you think it's just you complaining. Wow, that was a nice relaxation. The way to make that list is to just really just say, life is hard because, and see what comes out. Or just notice every time you react to something, and then start complaining about it and don't really see your way out. Or try to come up with 500,000 solutions of why you're in this certain predicament. Or again, expect this white knight to show up as miracles. You are the miracle. You going through a hardship and coming out the other end with the wisdom is the miracle. You recognizing that this hardship of life is really just life. And it's only hard because we've put that label on it. Right? Boom, light bulb going off there. So now we're going to wake up the personality consciousness. And that peace in your heart is literally just lightening up. In whatever way you're experiencing it. And it may be something that maybe needed a little integration, or it may be something you're realizing right away. Now waking up the genetic personality consciousness. Oh yeah, that's taking a little bit more. Yeah, you definitely inherited this. Of course you did. Whew. And create a new personality, optimal densified personality piece. So this is going to replace the one you already have that just sees life as a big hardship. Again, all this acts like new blueprint, like a new overlay, like a new template. You have to transfer over any history, stories, any functionality that's going to create circumstances and experiences so you can test it out. Take it for a test drive. The reason you have conditioning is every single experience you've ever had has contributed to that conditioning. Like you're creating deeper and deeper grooves in a record. And here, it's not enough just to uncreate them. You have to create new grooves in a record that say, no, life is easy. Life just is. It's not easy or it's bad. It just is. And that actually creates a need for a whole lifestyle change, not just mentally in the way you talk about yourself, but in how you act towards yourself and others. And the different changes in your state of consciousness and the different friends you have, or maybe the um, way you approach life with more ease and grace, the different foods you eat, and how you take better care of yourself. All these different changes can come about by this lightening up. Now we're going to break down that old genetic personality piece. And of course, we're running into resistance here. Because that old genetic personality piece really was based on the old Americana by the bootstraps. Of course, life is struggle, life is hard. You got to work for it, son. You got to work for it, daughter. And it's going to be hard. No one teaches you, not in this culture anyway, that manifesting is just ease and grace and learning that you are that which you think, what you act, what you believe, and trusting in the greater infiniteness of it, greater connection. And that comes with not necessarily just a spiritual philosophy, but a more natural, organic, indigenous. It's about caring for the world, caring for the others in a completely different way. And so that's why there's a lifestyle change, because our culture doesn't promote that. So everything that you think you are, this worldview, is based on this hardness, this, American way, the patriotic way of, life is a struggle, and, people died so you can be free. Well, true freedom isn't about other people dying for you. True freedom is a state of being in the world with more gentleness, more kindness, more flow, more love, more peace. and more awareness. So we're going to drop into the truth tower now. Okay, they want us to I'm going to catch up your genetics for just a second. Whew. There we go. That was nice. A lot of the resistance is in the genealogy. Again, because culture. Many lifetimes. Life is hard. It's meant to be hard, son. Meant to be hard, daughter. Gotta work for it. You gotta work hard. And even then, be prepared because life is tough. Now dropping into Truth Tower and bringing in alchemical codes. And these codes are going to be infused in not just into your cells, but in the atoms and in the space in the atoms, into your quarks. So alchemical codes coming in to bring in this pattern of lightness of being. Of a lighter way of being with life that used to think and wanted to position everything. That's hard. These alchemical codes coming in like seeds, like sparks of light, like crystal snowflakes, infusing your physical body to the tissue, the fascia, the fluids, the cranial sacral, the bones, from your feet to your crown, coming up into your knees and your thighs and your hips, into your core, up through all your chakras, into your spine and nervous system, specifically into the chest and the heart area, and that space that seemed to have like an arrow hole through it, just filling it up with light. Into your shoulders and the perception of burdens, into your throat and the inability to even speak about such things, into your skull and brow and third eye that knows intuitively some of the things I speak about as inner truth, but hasn't really been exposed to it, into the crown, and cascading all around you into toroidal fields that interface with the Earth's toroidal field, into the all of creation, infusing everything with this mist, this snowflakes, this crystalline flowers of life, this form of peace that is the lightness of being, especially anyone experiencing hardship, that hard place in their heart that says life is hard. They're getting droplets, these seeds, these sparks everywhere. Starting first, again, within your own body and flowing out to your homes and workplaces and friends and family. Out to all your loved ones, to the soil beneath your feet, up into the sky and the atmosphere, everything in between. Imagine yourself standing on the earth and these white flowers flowing in, around, and through you and throughout all the planet. And just envision them falling into the forests and trees. into all the rivers, lakes, and streams that flow into all the oceans. Radiating waves of this lightness of being. Into the birds, insects, animals, marine life. Into all of creation, all humanity, all human hearts, seeking out like heat-seeking missiles, all those hard places in the hearts, and dropping these seeds of lightness of being everywhere. There's no part of you that isn't this light. There's no part of the earth that isn't this light. The word light doesn't even do it justice. Getting a special gift. Little sparks of this lightness of being in areas that are still heavy, dense, and dark. And trust me when I tell you that, we're living in human karmic bodies. Dark places we find within us. It's going to be a lifetime journey. We'll be in our deathbed and there will be pieces going, oh, I didn't see that. Because that is the nature of this human karmic journey that we're all on. And the flow of life is just to meet it with curiosity, not to see that as bad or good, as just, oh, what an exploration we're on. What a journey. And so Source is dropping these seeds like little lamps along the way, so that you can meet them with that same curiosity. What a gift. What a blessed gift. Where you find that as you progress along your journey, some of these areas, wow, they're going to be lit up for you. The gift just for showing up today and taking part in something that is so much greater than just you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the gift. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the beings of light, the divine guides who are joining us here today. Of course, divine mothers of the foundation. We have Merlin of magical, of transformation, master healers, Christ consciousness. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As we come to an ending of this beautiful journey together, singing a Sanskrit mantra, which is a prayer, a request to be led from untruth to truth, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. And this tonight was one of the answers to that prayer. May we be conduits so that all beings everywhere be happy, free, and at peace. Asatoma Satgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityurma Hamtramgamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Peace, peace, peace. May peace continue to brighten and expand that light within as more peace. So it is, so it is, so it is. Bowing my head to you again, and to the grace of the divine who has joined with us and gifted us with such wonderful expressions of light. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is done. It is complete. And so it is. Taking a couple of deep breaths, coming out of this space of grace, although feel free to stay flowing in this beautiful lightness of being for as long as you feel guided. Until next time, be blessed.